Hello and welcome to the Alcohol Recovery Show, where we discuss practical, actionable steps for anyone who wants to achieve their dream of getting and staying well, happy and free from any form of alcohol dependence. Hello and welcome back to the Alcohol Recovery Show. Today we're talking about something simple, powerful and life-changing. That is how mindfulness can help with alcohol recovery. So if you're trying to stop drinking or just cut down or heal from the impact alcohol has had on your life, mindfulness can become one of the most valuable tools in your recovery toolkit. Now, I'm not jumping on the trendy, mystical bandwagon here. I truly believe that mindfulness can teach you how to be with yourself without escaping. And that's often the real challenge in recovery. So today we'll explore what mindfulness actually is, why it works so well in alcohol recovery, and how to begin using it in everyday life. At the end, I've included a sample from the book Mindfulness for Alcohol Recovery, written by myself and Lewis David, and narrated by Jason Zenobia. So please listen right to the end to enjoy that sample that's coming up. But first of all, what is mindfulness? Mindfulness is simply the practice of paying attention to the present moment with awareness and certainly without harsh judgment. That's it. It just means noticing. That is noticing what you're feeling, what you're thinking, what your body is experiencing right now in this moment, and what's happening around you without immediately reacting or judging it. Many people drink because they don't want to feel whatever it is they're feeling in the present moment. Maybe they want to numb anxiety or escape loneliness, dial down those stressful feelings, reward themselves, try to forget about shameful memories, or just simply switch off the noise in their own minds. And alcohol can feel like a shortcut away from those types of discomfort. But mindfulness teaches something revolutionary. It teaches us that we can survive those uncomfortable feelings without escaping them. And not only that, you can actually grow stronger by working through them. Why alcohol recovery can feel so hard. Now, when alcohol has become part of your coping system, removing it can feel like losing your emotional crutch. All of a sudden, you might feel even more restless, irritable, anxious, bored, or emotionally raw. You might feel overwhelmed by cravings or unsure who you are without drinking. It can be a type of restless, rootless, anchorless sort of feeling. And many people think recovery is only about resisting alcohol. But often it is about learning to face life directly, being able to cope with reality. And mindfulness can help because it strengthens the space between the urge and action. So instead of thinking, I feel stressed, so I'll have a drink, you begin to experience instead thoughts like, I feel stressed. I notice the urge, and I'm going to pause and choose. And it's that pause that can change everything. Just slowing everything right the way down. That's how mindfulness can help with cravings. Because cravings often come in waves. They rise, they peak, and then they do pass. But in the moment, they can feel unbearable. Mindfulness can teach us to observe the cravings instead of obeying them. So when a craving is coming up, you might notice tightness in your chest, a sense of agitation, maybe thoughts like, I need a drink. You might get into sort of mental bargaining. You might feel tension in your jaw or in your shoulders, or just a sense of racing energy in the body that you don't know what to do with. So instead of panicking, you learn to say, This is just a craving. It's uncomfortable, but it is temporary. And it's that pause, that shift that matters. You're not being dictated to by the craving. You're just witnessing it. And when we witness something, we can see it as being outside of ourselves. We don't have to become it. Now, there's a well-known mindfulness technique in recovery called urge surfing. This is described in detail in the book Mindfulness for Alcohol Recovery, and there are lots of guided meditations in the book to help you through cravings and other areas of discomfort in alcohol recovery. But briefly, with urge surfing, you imagine the craving to be like an ocean wave. If you fight the wave, you end up just exhausting yourself. If you surrender to it, it drags you under. But if you ride with it, with awareness, it passes. So when a craving comes, remember these 5 points. Maybe just count them off on your fingers as I go through them to help you remember. 1. Pause. 2. Take slow breaths. 3. Notice where the craving lives in your body. 4. Observe thoughts without believing them. And 5. Remind yourself, this wave will pass. Most cravings peak within minutes if we don't feed them, and mindfulness can help you stay on board until the water settles again. Many people in recovery carry shame. It might be shame about the past, about things that they did when they were drinking. They might have shameful thoughts like, why did I let it all get this far? What's wrong with me? Why can't I just be normal? Or I've messed everything up. Shame is dangerous because shame often leads back to drinking. Perhaps someone that you know has raised an incident about your drinking past. They might have done this for all sorts of reasons, but it might bring up deep shame that could actually be so counterproductive that it'll lead you right the way back to a drink. So if someone has spoken to you without compassion, give yourself that compassion that you deserve. Recognise that you're trying your very best to get sober and to stay sober. And mindfulness can help introduce that compassion that perhaps cruel comments by someone else have taken away. Mindfulness allows you to notice painful thoughts without treating them as truth. So you might say to yourself something along the lines of, I made mistakes, but I'm healing, or I'm learning. Recovery deepens when attack softens, whether that attack comes from yourself and your own thoughts, or sadly from somebody else. Mindfulness can help with triggers, those moments or places or feelings or people associated with drinking. For example, maybe a certain time on a Friday evening, or if you've had an argument, perhaps when you start to feel lonely, thoughts of a drink creep in, or maybe during celebrations. It could be things like passing certain pubs or shops, being at home alone, or perhaps if you feel rejected. But without awareness, triggers just can run away with themselves automatically. So if a trigger appears, drinking might follow. But mindfulness can slow down that chain reaction. So if you notice, I'm feeling lonely, and it's usually a time when you drink, or if your body's starting to tense up and you think that you need a drink right now to help you relax, that awareness gives you options. Options like calling somebody, going for a walk, eating something nourishing, journaling, having a lie down and a rest, taking a few moments to breathe, attending a recovery meeting, or simply leaving that environment. Mindfulness won't remove triggers overnight, but it stops them controlling you, and over time, those triggers will have less and less power. When alcohol leaves your system, something beautiful happens, and this can be the hardest and the most poignant part of alcohol recovery, your feelings come back. Sometimes those feelings turn up like overwhelming grief, or hot anger, or cold fear. But also lovely feelings can come back like joy and gratitude and peace and creativity, self-respect. Mindfulness helps you sit with all of those feelings, whether you label them good or bad or indifferent. You stop living in that emotional numbness and you begin to become real again, which means that you've got chances to reconnect with other people, to connect with yourself, with what's meaningful to you as a person. Now here's a simple daily mindfulness practice for recovery. It only takes a few moments. So sit comfortably. If you're out walking, maybe just slow your pace. If you're driving, please be careful. You might need to just pause here. Pull over and just sit for a few minutes. But wherever you are, either sit comfortably or slow down and take one breath in and out. If you're able to, you could put your hand on your heart and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? You don't need to fix it. You don't need to do anything about it. You just need to question next, what's happening in my body? Do I feel tense, warm, restless? The next question to ask yourself is, what do I need right now? Not what do you crave, but what do you actually need? That could be water, food, movement, connection, rest, reassurance. Perhaps it's fresh air, or just a quiet few moments, or some rest and sleep. Then put a hand on your chest and say, I can care for myself without alcohol. Take one more breath. Now that's mindfulness. It's simple, it's grounding, and it's powerful. Now I've been thinking recently about how much recovery is built in small moments, just in those micro decisions and seconds, not in the big, giant, dramatic breakthroughs. Often recovery is built quietly through moments like this. Simply noticing a craving and not acting on it. Breathing through anxiety. Calling a friend instead of drinking. Sitting with sadness instead of numbing it. Forgiving yourself after a hard day. And if you have fallen off the wagon, choosing for yourself again tomorrow. Making choices that uphold your recovery. Mindfulness teaches you that healing lives in these moments. And sometimes healing can be hard. But those moments become days. And those days become months. And healing gets easier. If alcohol has been your escape route, mindfulness can become your return route. You return back to your body, to your feelings, to your values, to your life. And you don't need to master meditation overnight. You just need to begin noticing, that's all. One breath, one pause, one craving survived, one compassionate choice. That is recovery. So before I finish today, I'm just going to include a sample from the book Mindfulness for Alcohol Recovery, written by Lewis David and Antonia Ryan, narrated by Jason Zenobia. The book is available on Audible as an audiobook, so if you enjoy listening to recovery material, I think you'll really enjoy Mindfulness for Alcohol Recovery. So the sample's coming up.
Mindfulness is the biggest breakthrough in the treatment of alcohol problems in the 21st century. It changes lives. Yet, outside of formal treatment, the use of mindfulness for alcohol recovery is little understood. I have written this book to put that right and make mindful treatment available to anyone in an easy-to-use format, suitable for you to learn at home. This is a practical guide, and everything you need is in this book. You don't need to have any previous experience of mindfulness. All you need is willingness, an open mind, and a few minutes a day. My goal is to walk you through this course, making it easy to understand, engaging, effective, and I hope you will also find it enjoyable. I am a therapist specializing in alcohol issues and also the writer of 2 bestsellers on the subject, The 10-Day Alcohol Detox Plan and Alcohol and You. Those books explained how to stop or reduce drinking, but mindfulness for alcohol recovery is different. This book is aimed at people who have already started to address a drinking problem, but need help to reach their long-term goals. For instance, you might have already read or listened to one of my previous books and want to move on to the next level. Or perhaps you've been trying for a while to find a solution to your drinking issues and want a fresh approach. Or maybe you are already in recovery but need some extra help. Whatever your story, this book will provide the support you need, as mindfulness is a broad and inclusive therapy. I have written this book so that it can be used as a standalone work, but if you are already in another form of treatment, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, or 12-step, you will find this book helpful and complementary. Also, I don't believe it is likely to clash with any spiritual or religious beliefs you might have. It will support many forms of recovery. So, what kind of recovery is right for you? As you will discover, being non-judgmental is a key element of mindfulness, so it's appropriate for me to leave that decision to you. And I expect that, if you were honest with yourself, you already know the answer to that question. But if you are genuinely unsure, you will find that using the practices in this book will show you the answer. Mindfulness is a great tool for cutting through confusion and revealing the truth. Therefore, whatever sort of recovery you are looking for, this book will help you. Mindfulness is essentially a form of mental training that will help you see your drinking, and indeed your whole life, with a clarity you haven't previously experienced. Imagine your life has been like bumping around in the dark. Then, suddenly, someone hands you a flashlight that makes your path bright and clear. Wouldn't that be helpful? This book is that flashlight. Some people have never tried mindfulness because they think it's all a bit mystic and oriental, and there is indeed an ancient Eastern version of mindfulness. But mindfulness as we use it today in the West has its origins not so much in the Far East as in the United States. At the University of Massachusetts Medical School, American professor John Kabat-Zinn pioneered the use of mindfulness as a successful treatment for stress and anxiety. It also proved effective for chronic physical pain without the use of drugs, which shows you how powerful mindfulness is. Then, clinical research, notably at the University of Washington, established its effectiveness for relapse prevention in addictions. Nowadays, mindfulness is a mainstream treatment recommended by health services around the world. I was trained in the use of mindfulness while I was working in addiction services. I have since facilitated many mindfulness courses and workshops, often specifically for the treatment of alcohol issues. I have seen mindfulness work so well for so many people and am delighted to share my experience with you today. This book is divided into 8 chapters. Each chapter begins by recounting the experiences of 2 people in early alcohol recovery who attended a mindfulness course. I hope you will find their experiences helpful and relatable.
So you were listening to a sample from the book Mindfulness for Alcohol Recovery, available on Audible. Thank you so much for listening today, and if this episode helped, please share it with someone who might need encouragement. Until next week, thanks so much for being here. Bye for now. Bye.